Don't forget to check out the Inside the Birds podcast as the Eagles get ready for the Giants. It looks like Eli Manning is going to start the game, very likely to start. They're also going to get back Golden Tate, Evan Ingram, so Giants are getting healthy at the right time for their offense. Unfortunately for them, Jones has not got to really use the full arsenal of weapons, and it'll be Eli Manning most likely on Monday night. Apparently, according to reports, if the game were today, Jones would be out, which means likely he's in a walking boot, guys, so it doesn't look like he's going to play in the game on Monday night. Is that good, bad, or indifferent?
It's great. It's Jason Garrett 1, Eli Manning 2 for your favorite non-Eagles.
I wouldn't be as confident as you are. I mean, I think
I'm joking.
I thought you were actually being hyperbolic, but I thought it sounds like you think it's a better situation for the Eagles to face Eli than Daniel Jones.
I don't think so, because despite all of the overwhelming numbers that point to Eli's struggles against the Eagles, you still feel more comfortable going up against the rookie.
Exactly.
Well, let's see what Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast, SiriusXM NFL Radio at Caplan NFL. He joined us down the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. A lot going on here. What do you think, Adam? Is it because I think Schwartz, they've really dominated Eli, but he's definitely much better at confusing these younger quarterbacks. You give Eli one more shot at you. I'd much rather face Jones in this situation.
Well, a rookie, you'd rather him face a rookie, yeah, Mike. I would agree. Eli's a savvy veteran. And by the way, Pat Shurmur basically said that Eli's starting. He actually said that he's not expecting Jones to be able to practice later in the week, because the practice week really starts on Thursday, Monday night game, and they're going to give Eli all the reps, which tells you that there's no way that Jones is going to play. So, look, the thing that they have with Eli is he hasn't played in nearly 3 months, so you have that going for you. If the Eagles, he doesn't move very well, so it'll be interesting to see how Pat Shurmur handles this when the Eagles come with their front four. And then the other thing is Jeff and I talked about in our Inside the Bird show how Jim Schwartz decides to play coverage, because what he did against the Miami Dolphins absolutely did not work.
At this stage of the game, I want to actually, before we get to some other, I want to get your take on the whole Hollins thing. I kind of let the show a little heated by the whole roster construction of this thing. It's a microcosm of everything. They kept a guy who's a gunner over a more talented wide receiver, and they kept him for 13 weeks. You can't explain to me how that makes any sense.
Well, wait a minute. Who should have they kept over
anybody who could catch a ball? Anybody who could.
Mike, the problem is no one's been able to do it consistently this season other than Jeffrey, and Jeffrey is certainly not playing as well as he has in the past.
Let me explain it to you the way I did to these guys. Like, if Brian Brayman's a special teams guy, if 3 linebackers get hurt, they're not starting Brian Brayman. They're going to go out of the organization and find someone to play linebacker.
Correct. I agree with you.
After how many weeks do they figure out that Mack Hollins is not a starting wide receiver, that we got to go either find someone or give someone else a shot?
Mike, here's actually what happened. They thought he would be a quality number 4 receiver. He absolutely outperformed, talking to the Eagles about it. In training camp and preseason, they thought Hollins was he was farther ahead than Arcega-Whiteside. Okay. Once the regular season started, Mack Hollins, for whatever reason, did not look right. He looked like he was a step slow. He just is not the same player that he was 2 years ago, because we know he didn't play last season. I would agree with your assessment. Once we're 6 or 7 or 8 weeks in here, and you clearly see he can't play receiver anymore, why they didn't do something at the trade deadline, and someone really smart said to me about this, when you don't go out and help your quarterback, you actually set back his progress. That is part of the reason why Wentz has not played as well, if you want to call it regression or whatever you want, because they have not helped him well enough. That's certainly on the front office.
Adam, at what point do we look – because what we've struggled to do here is diagnose whether this is more of a Howie Roseman issue for keeping Mack Hollins coming out of camp, or not, as you mentioned, finding someone on the trade market or practice squad, or Doug Peterson for continuing to put him out there when you have a second-round pick. And John McMullen tweeted today that for the first time he feels like there's maybe a disconnect or discord, not understanding between the between the coaching staff and the personnel staff. Do you think this is both of an issue, or one more than the other?
I'm not sure about that, but what I could tell you is no one's happy with what happened in this game. I would say the front office clearly is not happy with what just happened against Miami, but in terms of the roster, they're given players. The coaches are given players. Their expectations develop these players. This is the worst regression. I've covered the National Football League for 20 years. I've covered this team especially, obviously, very closely. This is the worst regression I've ever seen in my career from a roster. I've never seen anything like this. Show me 3 players who have gotten better this season. I've already done
Can
it.
you do 2? They gotten better?
Yeah, it got better over last season.
That's a Nick Gary? I don't know.
I mean, okay. By the way, on a good football team, he probably wouldn't be starting, but that's here nor there.
Yeah, no, you're good. That's a good point.
But is that all on coaching, Adam? Or is that you have to hold the players a little bit accountable?
Ryan, it's part of it. Obviously, it's partially coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll hear it on our Inside the Birds. I mean, I tore into the game plan. I actually said it on Friday. Do not let Devontae Parker beat you. Play smart football, double him. Schwartz confirmed today that they played quarters coverage and did not double on the outside. I don't know even a 1/100th of what Schwartz knows, and I'm a big Schwartz supporter. But why know going in, do you not double the guy who you know could beat you? Schwartz's explanation is very simple. They were handling it before this game. He felt that they could do it. Once they didn't do it, he decided not to adjust. That to me cost them the game. So that's coaching. But what we have to ask, Ryan, is what have they done to help these players? Because whatever Doug Peterson's done, and I've been very critical of Doug in terms of coaching his coaches, what has he done to improve this team this season? I know this.
It's a good question.
And let me respond to that. The front office thought this roster was so much better. I'm told by a team source that they told Josh McCown when they signed him, Josh, you're going to want to sign here because we think this roster is better than 2017. Well, they were wrong.
Yeah, they thought Josh McCown himself probably thought he had a good chance to grab a ring here late.
Correct.
But
100% correct. 100%
not so fast, my friend. And it's like, I understand Doug Peterson lets Jim Schwartz do his thing. I mean, he has full control over there on the defensive side of the ball. But I almost blame Coach Peterson more than I blame Schwartz. If I'm the head coach and I'm watching my defense just get annihilated by the same play and the same player, I'm sorry. I'm going to turn to my D coordinator and say, dude, all right, enough's enough here. Make this. I'm telling you to make this adjustment.
You can't because let me give an example on the offensive side of the football.
All right.
I've dealt with this for many years. There are several of these run game head coaches, these defensive guys or head coaches, where they literally go into a game and say, we're not doing this. I want you running. I want you going 2 tight ends. We're going to run the hell of a football. When the offensive coordinator has a completely different plan, you can't micromanage your coaches. I get the inference, and I know.
But is that micromanaging, Adam?
You can't coach. You can't coach the defense. But what you can say though, and I know where you're going here, what we're doing is not working. What are we doing to stop Parker? They did absolutely nothing to stop him. That's the problem. So I'm agreeing with you. But you got to be careful of telling coaches what to do in game. It's really not like Andy Reid's done it. A lot of coaches I've talked to have done it over the years. But you have to be careful of how you do it. But I certainly think Doug. We will never know the answer to this. I'd love to know if Doug's. What are we doing here? We can't stop this guy. What are we doing to stop him? That I'd love to know.
I think you guys can actually meet in the middle because I don't know if Ryan even means in game, like out in the public. Because I agree with you with that. But Adam, I mean, we've talked about it on the podcast, and you brought it up. The idea of Doug Peterson coaching his coaches a little harder, and I do think a discussion with Jim during the week about, hey, what's the plan? What are we going to do? How are we going to defend Devontae Parker? And if Jim says, well, I'm going to play my cover one and, give these guys a chance. Okay, if it doesn't work, if we have to be able to adjust. Like Doug can do that behind closed doors with any of his coaches, and that's within his right.
Yes, but honestly, and I heard Schwartz say this, I still don't agree with it, but I respect what he was saying. Everything they were doing, just about, except for the thing that Schwartz forgot to talk about against the Seahawks when Metcalf beat them down the field for would have been a touchdown if he would have caught it. Their coverages have worked greatly. And Jeff, you and I talked about the last couple of weeks on our show how Schwartz has really changed it up. He's actually being way more aggressive with his coverages and giving quarterbacks something to think about. But in this game, whatever he tried didn't work early. Like Schwartz said, "Oh, look, he said today we had a great first drive, we had an interception." No, Jim, what happened was the Dolphins receiver ran to your defender. That's what happened, and they had 2 sacks. And after that, they got absolutely smoked. That's what happened.
Adam Caplan, the Inside the Birds podcast at Caplan NFL, and of course SiriusXM NFL Radio. He joins us weekly right here. Eagles Giants. Now, a lot of people, real quick, Adam, everyone's down. You lost to the Dolphins. How do you do anything else? Do you think they can pick up the pieces, these final four, and make them interesting and even get to the playoffs?
Yeah, I do. I think everyone is under the gun here, under pressure. Coaching staff, players, they know it. They've got to win this game. I know people think they could run the table. It's not a question of can they, will they, and I think that they won't. I think they'll win 3 out of their final 4. That it's still, as someone at the Cowboys told me last Saturday night, that it's still going to come down to Week 16. By the way, tomorrow night the Cowboys play at the Bears. That's going to be a very interesting game. But Mike, I'll tell you what you want to do is get ahead of Eli Manning. If you get a lead against Eli Manning, you got a good chance to beat him, because that's when he starts making mistakes. He doesn't move very well. I'll be very interested to see the coverages, assuming that all of their skill position players at receiver and tight end are going to play, because they've been without several players lately. If they're all back, they can make this game interesting. But I got to think that the Eagles, who are usually a pretty resilient team under Peterson, bounce back.
He's Adam Caplan, everybody, and of course he appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thank you, bud.
You got it.